We all know that relationships are one of the most emotionally and mentally draining situations that we can go through. They have the potential to ruin our lives. And sometimes when we tell our therapist or our best friend that we're in a relationship that is wrecking us, they say, well, maybe you're a little bit too codependent on this relationship. Well, after this video, you can tell them that's bullshit. What's going on, you guys? My name is Jesse Lyon. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, certified clinical hypnotherapist, and the internet's resident dream interpreter. Here to talk to you today about a book that I've been reading that has just blown my mind. It's all about attachment theory. And if you're new to the idea or the concept of attachment theory, it totally reworks everything that we've really thought about relationships. And I'm going to explain to you the bullet points today. But let me show you the book just in case you want to get it, you want to understand it. Highly recommend it. I'm only a little bit in, well, like half in. But it's just changing the way that I think about things. I knew about attachment theory before, but I tell you what, this has just taken it to a whole new level. This is called Attach, the new science of adult attachment and how it can help you find and keep love. It's specifically for relationships and to help you identify your attachment style and your partner's attachment style so you can learn to relate to one another a lot better than maybe you have been. So in this book, they talk about codependency, which blew my mind because codependency, in my clinical practice, grew up through my internship working at the Salvation Army, which does a lot of AA and substance abuse rehab. There's a lot of conversation about codependency and how that can really be terrible and damaging for your life. Well, come to find out, codependency was a term coined somewhere in the 1920s, at least according to the book, and it's persisted ever since. But the new science of attachment, which has been around since 50s and 60s, has found that codependency is actually not true. This idea that we need to be self-sufficient, we need to be able to handle our own emotions and be resilient creatures that are not affected by the thoughts and feelings of other people, that we're self-reliant and confident in our own identity. Found out that that's bullshit. They did some incredible studies, and I'm going to quote 3 of them here for you today. Three different things. The first one is they started this attachment conversation, this research into attachment, looking at children. They were really trying to understand the connection between an infant and their mother. So they did this study. In the study, they took this small child, crawling age, right? They put them in this room. And it was a room full of toys. It was bright. It was happy. The lights were good. There's nothing weird about the room. It was full of every toy they could possibly want. And so, of course, mother brings the child into the room, sets the child down, and they start boogieing. They scurry around the room, and they're like, oh my gosh, picking everything up, throwing it down to see if it bounces or lights up or makes noise. And they're just having the best time. But they noticed that every few minutes, the child would turn and look at the mother just to make sure that there was that attachment still, that they were connected and they were safe. Well, the researcher would instruct the mother to leave the room, and the mother would leave the room, and as soon as the mother left the room, without fail, very consistently, the babies would scurry over to the door and start wailing and crying for their mother to come back. Nothing about the room had changed except the presence of their mother. And so they came to find out there is something very important, and even if you provide a human creature, the same kind of sustenance like food, warmth, safety, fun, shelter, the attachment to the mother is unshakable. You will always be attached to that mother, at least, an infant. Relationship changes over time, of course. So they did another study. They're like, wow, this is interesting. I wonder about adults, right? So they did another study, and they put somebody in an MRI machine, right? They put a female. They did it with female subjects. They put a female into the MRI machine. Remember, 60s. And so they said, okay, we're going to scan your brain. We're doing this thing. Okay, in a moment, we're going to deliver a mild electrical shock to you and your system. Well, that's stressful. And so what they're doing is they're trying to figure out how the brain responds to stress. So they looked and they said, okay, we're going to deliver a mild electric shock. The hypothalamus lights up, just on fire, because that's scary. You're stuck in an MRI machine, scary already. And then, okay, we're going to shock you. God damn. So they did it again. I said, okay, this time they let the woman inside of the MRI machine hold a stranger's hand. And they said, okay, we're going to deliver a mild electrical shock. The hypothalamus, the reactivity in the hypothalamus was greatly reduced when they're holding the hand of a stranger. So they said, okay, let's do it a third time. Third test. And in this third test, they had them hold the hand of their husband. Now, they made sure that all these were in a healthy, happy relationship. They reported happiness in their relationship with their partner. And so they put them in the MRI machine. Okay, mild electric shock, hold the hand of your husband. It was so minimal. The hypothalamus explosion was so small. It was almost as though they hadn't even said there was going to be a mild electric shock delivered. And these were people who had been known to have no significant mental difficulties or emotional problems or psychological issues. They were just normal. And so it was becoming very apparent that this isn't codependence. This is human attachment. Like, this is part of what it means to be a human. We are attached to other human beings. And so the theory has been that, if I'm caveman A and I'm very independent, right, and I'm going to go out and conquer the woolly mammoth, saber-toothed tiger, whatever, right, and I'm going to go get him, right, it is not as safe and I'm not guaranteed success as much going on my own as if caveman B goes with caveman C, and together, I'm watching your back, you're watching mine. We're going to fight this woolly mammoth, saber-toothed tiger. We're going to be all right. It's a lot better. And so humans, the theory is that humans have evolved to be fiercely and intensely attached to one another for survival reasons. It's better for the human race and for human beings that we learn to attach and connect deeply, almost as if we're the same creature, to one another, because it increases our chances of survival, right? And so they're kind of understanding this, and the research continues. The personality in the human shifts when they enter into a close romantic relationship. Person A, person B, they get married. Now they're a different unit altogether. And if you've ever had friends, you were friends with one, friends with the other, and then they got married, you notice how they changed. They move from being single person to relationship person, and that personality shift happens. Now, of course, it can happen too much and you can lose yourself a little bit, but that attachment is not false. It's not wrong. It's a normal part of the human experience. So I said there were going to be three things, right? Final test. They did another research study and they found out if you are around your partner and you have like mild high blood pressure, right? If you're around your partner and you report a satisfying and enjoyable relationship, your heart blood pressure will reduce when you're in the physical presence of this partner. They also noticed hormones level out, emotions balance out, a heart rate gets in sync, breathing gets in sync with your partner, and like I said, the blood pressure comes down. Now, they did the same study with couples who reported that they were unsatisfied with their relationship. Well, that mild blood pressure problem becomes hypertension and high blood pressure when they were around. And that hypertension, that high blood pressure stayed consistent, and it was consistently high. And it was consistently high until they left the presence, the physical presence of the partner they reported they were not happy with. So even though they weren't talking, even though they weren't physically interacting, because of physical proximity, their blood pressure was still high. And so we are learning from this science and from the theory of attachment that codependency is not a thing. For those who have a substance use disorder, there can be codependence because that's part of kind of the substance use cycle. It's part of the issue there and the way that thing manifests. But just as a normal person, there is no such thing as codependence. What there is, and these are the three things I want you to take away from this. There are three personality types, and I want you to tell me in the comments which one you are. While you're down there, hit subscribe for me if you don't mind. It would make me and little Ollie Bear very happy. Okay, after you've hit subscribe, the three things are normal, right? That's the middle of the road. Normal attachment doesn't need explanation. I'm going to talk about the extremes and you'll understand what normal is. Now, in times of stress, human beings respond, and they can respond hopefully normally. They've got positive attachment, but those who respond to stress by pulling away from other human beings, right? They get in times of stress and they say, uh-oh, I'm in a stressful time. Other human beings are dangerous. They are problematic. They project their emotions onto things. They make things more complicated and scary. And they're going to probably threaten me or kind of cage me in. I'm going to pull away. I'm going to deal with this on my own. That's called avoidant attachment. I can be a little bit guilty of that. You wouldn't believe it because I'm on social media, but it's true. Ask Joy. And then there is anxious attachment. Anxious attachment is exactly the opposite. When things get stressful, this person reaches out all the time and they need constant reassurance, constant hand-holding, constant updates. Are you okay? Are you there for me? Because they have a fear of being abandoned. And so that fear of being abandoned needs and leads them to seek out that constant reassurance from their romantic partner or friendship partner of, I'm still there for you. I'm not going to leave you. It's okay. I've got your back. Because their big wounding and their fear in the stress is that I'm going to be left alone, right? So on the one hand, fear of abandonment, I'm going to be left alone, anxious attachment. On the other side, avoidant attachment, I'm going to be caged in by this person. I'm going to be manipulated and hurt, so I'm going to avoid. And you can see how when the two of those find each other, ooh, you're in for a whirlwind of a relationship. I'm going to keep reading the book, and I'm going to tell you some of the tactics and some of the tips that they have. So please do subscribe down below for how to kind of address some of these things and how to find out who you are. Of course, just get the book. It's fantastic. It's like, what, 12 bucks? I mean, you can't even buy lunch these days for 12 bucks. Fantastic. I've got it on Audible. I really recommend it. So let me know. Give me some insight as to what you are and how that helps with you. Stick around. I'll talk about it more in the next video, and I'll see you then. Bye.